Never lower yourself or beg in front of a woman. What often happens, especially during a breakup, is that a man falls into a kind of emotional trap. He starts believing certain illusions. One of the most common is the idea that if he just takes one more step toward her, makes a compromise, or absorbs all the negativity she's expressed, things will go back to how they used to be. You see, when a woman initiates a breakup, she often feels the need to justify it. She tells herself and you that you were the problem. You were cold, inattentive, didn't commit in time, ignored her needs. The thing is, she's not necessarily lying. She believes these things at that moment. She believes you were a bad partner, even if that's not entirely true. You hear all of this and start thinking, maybe she's right. I really didn't give her enough attention back then. She put up with a lot. Now she's had enough. But if I fix these mistakes, we can get back together. That's the illusion. That's the trap. It's not real. It's a lie. The truth is, a woman doesn't necessarily need to be loved. What really matters is that she feels love for you. These are two completely different things. That's why in the past, when you weren't giving her attention, everything still felt fine. The relationship worked. But then something shifted. The dynamic changed. Now she's making accusations. But those aren't the real reasons she left. I've seen this so many times. Even men who've watched my videos, read the content, and had one-on-one consultations still fall into this same pattern. Despite all the advice, they go right back to chasing her, giving gifts, trying to win her over. Afterward, I ask them, "So did it work?" They usually say no. Then I ask, "Are you ready to try something more effective now?" The problem is that many men need to see for themselves that this behavior doesn't work. They need proof. But by the time they figure that out, they've made things even worse. The more you show her you need her during this period, the longer it will take to turn the situation around, if that's even possible. And when she says things like, "I love you, but I'm confused," or "Maybe we need a break," or "I need time to figure things out," what she's really doing is hesitating. She doesn't want to cut ties completely. She's thinking, "Yes, I want to leave him. I don't love him anymore. But what if I regret it later?" That's why you get stuck in this in-between phase, where she hasn't fully left but isn't really with you either. Let me say this clearly. In this kind of situation, any action you take toward her, thinking it might help, is only based on your assumptions. You might think she made her decision because of some big misunderstanding. Maybe you offended her, maybe her friends or family influenced her, and deep down she still loves you but just can't show it. So you believe it's your job to take initiative, to fix everything, to win her back. This idea is constantly reinforced by books and movies. In those stories, the woman plays hard to get. The man keeps trying. He saves her, shows devotion, gets rejected, and then finally in the end, his persistence pays off. She falls into his arms. But that's fiction. Trying to apply that formula to real life leads to disappointment. If you're in this kind of situation right now, you need to understand. If she truly wanted to be with you, she wouldn't have left in the first place. And if she were afraid of losing you, she wouldn't even consider ending things. Once she starts talking about a breakup, that's a sign your significance to her has already dropped. And no amount of kind gestures, gifts, or reaching out will reverse that. Sometimes men don't just feel lost about what to do. They start acting out in desperation simply because they have no other ideas. And honestly, that's part of the reason my channel exists, to provide a foundation of knowledge so you can begin to draw your own conclusions and move forward in a smarter way. What many viewers don't realize is just how serious the problem can get. I'm not just talking about grown men. I've seen this happen with guys as young as 18 and as old as 36. They get stuck in the same loop. At this stage, they begin to overwhelm the woman with gifts, show up unannounced, try to impress her, make grand gestures, constantly reach out, and beg for a second chance. Even when they know deep down that being too pushy won't help, they still slip up. Here's a common mistake. The man decides to back off for a week or two. Then curiosity kicks in. I wonder what she's doing. And he sends a message. That one message turns into full-blown chasing all over again. Like a dog chasing a bone, he runs right back and ends up in the exact same place as before. I've repeated this principle many times. If the power balance in a relationship has already shifted, it's like a broken bone that healed the wrong way. You can't fix it with a Band-Aid. You have to break it again to let it heal properly. And yes, that's a painful, uncomfortable, and slow process, but there's no shortcut. Waiting around and hoping things magically improve won't help. Trying to patch it up with a nice gesture is just wishful thinking. Right now, you're probably rushing, anxious to fix everything fast. You're thinking that the more time passes since the breakup, the harder it will be to turn things around, to win her love back, to change the outcome. But that's not true. In fact, every step you take toward her right now, every gift, every visit, every emotional message, just digs you deeper. You start drowning in your own desperation. You become more emotionally attached, and she becomes more emotionally distant. So what's the best thing you can do in a situation like this? Take a break. Seriously, step back. For you. If possible, take some time off. Go on a trip. Disconnect from everything. I'm actually up in the mountains right now, and the view is breathtaking, even if it doesn't fully fit in the frame. That kind of peace is what you need to calm down and reset. You'll also need patience, not just to get through the breakup emotionally, but to reflect, learn, and come to the right conclusions. And if you eventually decide that trying to restore the relationship is worth it, you'll need even more patience, emotional control, and a clear plan. Because rebuilding a connection like that takes months, not days. There's absolutely no reason to rush. In fact, let me encourage you. As someone who works with these situations every day, I can tell you this might be the beginning of something important, a real turning point in your life. There's even a sense of excitement in figuring this out, understanding what happened, how to handle it, and what comes next. Your situation isn't special in some mystical way. Sure, there are individual details we can look at, but there's nothing supernatural about it. She's just a regular woman, like many others. And here's the thing. Sometimes, even if she once loved you, she's not coming back. She made a decision, and she's following through with it. Why? Because women often make these kinds of decisions based on emotions. At this specific moment, her emotions are telling her that she doesn't want you. A few months from now, that could completely change. And that's not unusual at all. What scares men the most is the intensity of negativity women often express during a breakup. But trust me, that's normal. It happens in almost every case. What really matters is how quickly you stop making the same mistakes. The sooner you do, the easier it becomes to turn things around, or at the very least, to pull yourself out of this emotional crisis. I've heard all kinds of incredible stories during consultations. One case that stands out involved a man who held a high-level position in a large company. He had about 50 people reporting to him. He wasn't even married to the woman, but when she left him, he became completely obsessed with winning her back. He started seriously tracking her, not just checking her social media. He went as far as hiring private investigators, and eventually he took matters into his own hands. He'd drive to her apartment building, park outside, and sit in his car all night, just watching, waiting, seeing if she would come out, if someone else would show up. He wrote down license plate numbers, tracked when the lights in her apartment turned off. Believe it or not, this kind of thing has happened multiple times, with men literally sleeping in stairwells or lobbies just to watch what's going on. It's shocking, and it's a clear sign that the person needs serious help to snap out of that state. In most of these stories, the first step was getting the man to regain emotional control, and that alone could take a couple of months. We focus on a full range of actions that help him regain his sense of self-worth, restore his internal balance, and rebuild his stability. Only after that emotional recovery can we start planning any further steps. And even then, it often takes another 2 or 3 months of consistent effort before we see meaningful results. So focus on yourself and get your life back in order.